Welcome back to Extraordinary Women TV. I'm Shannon Skinner, and I'm joined by Amy and Kim Sedgwick, who are two sisters that are very passionate about women's sexual and reproductive health. Now, a warning, due to the sensitive nature of the following topic, parental discretion is advised. I never thought I'd be saying that on my show, but that's really great. Now, the two of you are founders of Red Tent Sisters, which is a wellness center for women in Toronto. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking quite a bit about that, but before you came together to create this center and this store in Toronto, what were you doing? What's your backgrounds?
I was doing something quite different. I had just graduated from university. I went to King's College out in Halifax, which is where I was living. And then I came back to Toronto. I was actually living in Amy's basement, working at a gym that I hated. I'm really not a morning person, so that didn't go over so well. And just trying to figure out what I was going to do with this women's studies degree that I was passionate about, but there aren't a lot of avenues to use for it. And one night I was up late with Amy talking and thinking, I've always wanted to open my own store. I'd always worked in retail, enjoyed the one-on-one aspect of working in retail, but had never worked in a store that I was really passionate about what they were selling. And I thought, imagine if I was working with books and sexuality and all the things I care about. How amazing would that be? And then Amy was interested in similar things, so I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, your background.
Yeah, so my background is I'm actually a registered occupational therapist, so I was working in the mainstream healthcare system prior to our work together. And I left on maternity leave to have my daughter. And I decided that I was ready for a change. Through some of my own personal experiences after having my daughter, I became very interested in natural contraception and alternative health care issues. And so I got involved in a private training program to study holistic reproductive health and started thinking about how I would actually turn this into a career. And as Kim mentioned, she was living in my basement, so we started chatting about the idea of melding her vision for more of like a retail space that would address women's health with my ideas of wanting to do more one-on-one counseling and health provision for women. And so we came up with this idea of melding the two together.
What is it like as two sisters to come together in a business?
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah? That's awesome.
Yeah, we joke that there's no one else we could spend this much time with and not drive each other crazy. It's pretty awesome. I mean, we've always been very, very close, and we've got 27 years of conflict resolution, so if there's any problems, it's pretty easy to resolve them because we know each other really well, too well sometimes. We're like super in tune with each other. And we've been really careful. We've always said, family and our relationship as sisters comes first, so we always make sure to put that as a priority. And it's absolutely amazing because we've had so many moments where it meant so much to me that we got to share them together rather than it being a stranger. Yeah, it's been amazing.
Was there sibling rivalry when you were growing up?
Not at all.
No, not really.
We're 5.5 years apart, so I guess maybe that helps.
I was desperate for a sibling for a long time, and when Kim came along, I was just so excited. Like you hear about lots of
sister.
And
I treated her more like my little baby than my sister.
Two mothers really.
Yeah. So we maybe went through a bit of a rough patch when Kim realized that I wasn't actually her mother and she didn't have to do everything I said. But once we got through that little rough patch, we've just been like best friends basically since her birth, and so it's so much fun. Yeah.
Now we're here to talk about eco-sexiness, being eco-sexy. So tell me, what is eco-sexy?
Well, we think being eco-sexy means really using your values and making choices that make you feel really good about how you look. And there's lots of different ways to do that. For example, both Kim and I today are wearing clothes that we purchased from a woman who hand dyes all her own fabric. She makes it all herself. It's all organic and even bamboo, so some alternative clothing. And so one of the things is that when you wear the clothing, you're not just wearing clothing, you're wearing your values, you're wearing your devotion to environmental issues, you're wearing your commitment to supporting sustainable agriculture and to supporting people who are also doing really great work. And so we, in our store, we promote a lot of products that we feel really great about. A lot of them are made by people who we know and who are passionate about the work they do and are, eco-warriors, as was mentioned earlier. They're really fighting the good fight. And so when you use those products or you wear those pieces of clothing or jewelry that reflect that kind of values, it makes you feel so good about yourself. And we think that's really sexy.
Do you feel a bit like an eco-warrior?
Yeah,
in a
me
sexy
too.
way.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I mean, we've really been passionate. As Amy mentioned, the stuff that we carry in our store, a lot of the products are made by people that we know, and it's just always so nice for us to be able to offer alternatives to people, because the experience of going into, you know, a drugstore and buying some brand name that you have no idea who made it, and you look in the ingredients and you can't understand what half of them are, versus buying a product, you know, one of our favorite lubricants is, you know, made by a woman-owned company out in Vancouver, and they're just really passionate about all the stuff that they put in there, and yeah, as Amy said, it just makes you feel really good about yourself, and we think that's way sexier.
Now, and just so that we can be really specific, tell us a bit more about the Red Tent Sisters and what you do sell in your retail.
So yeah, in terms of the retail, that's more my end of things. Amy runs the services, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But in terms of the retail store, we do a lot of stuff around reproductive and sexual health. So everything from menstrual products to personal lubricants to adult toys, and some books and massage oils, all those kinds of things. And our policy is to always try and carry things that are as local as possible, organic whenever possible. So we know we're not the Walmart of stores. We don't have a huge selection. Everything is hand-picked. In terms of sort of specifics, we're really well known, as I mentioned earlier, around lubricants. A lot of people don't realize there's a lot of harmful chemicals in them, and the only place they're used to going is a drugstore, so we offer a lot of alternatives there. And then when it comes to our adult products, they're not there's no regulating body to make sure that they're safe, so we do all the research to make sure that when people come into our store that they know that everything that they're purchasing from us is as body safe and environmentally friendly as possible.
So a lot of these, a lot of the toys and the products that are out there, you're saying have toxins then?
For sure. I mean, traditionally adult toys have been made out of jelly, and jelly is softened with a chemical called phthalates, which is a plastic softener used in a lot of materials. And yeah, it's been linked to a number of different health concerns. It's an endocrine disruptor. It disrupts the hormonal balance of our bodies. It's already been banned in a lot of children's products and other products as well. And so we're just really passionate about helping consumers make informed choices, that they know that there's alternatives that are out there that don't have phthalates, that are often, you know, just as accessible, especially now because I think a lot of consumers are becoming aware of these issues, and they're demanding that their retailers and that the manufacturers offer alternatives. We were part of a campaign that we did with the Honourable Carolyn Bennett a year and a half ago to try, and we wrote a letter to the Minister of Health asking that these materials be banned. They weren't, but we were just really grateful that there was enough media attention that now, as I said, consumers are more aware, and they know the questions to ask so that they can make the best choices for themselves and for the environment.
So what's next for you in this fight against removing toxins from these kind of products? I mean, what is your next step?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's certainly the continuing fight around the toys, and then one of the other areas that we're really passionate is around reproductive health. So I'll let you maybe talk a little bit about the menstrual products and the fertility aspect of things.
And contraception. So one of our next big things is really wanting to, again, use some of those other channels, you know, YouTube and all that kind of thing to spread our message a little bit wider, so that we're not just reaching the people who come into our store, but that we can reach people on a broader scale, to share with them some of the information Kim's already mentioned. But also one of our kind of big fights is around the sort of pharmaceutical industry and the impact that has on the environment, and how unnecessary it is, a lot of the things that we're taking. And my personal passion is around eco-contraception, so teaching women that there are healthy alternatives that are non-hormonal to address contraception and birth control, and helping to give women the skills and the tools to be able to use those methods effectively.
So, can you give us an example of eco-contraception?
Yeah, so the main thing that we promote at our store is fertility awareness, which is a method that I teach. So it's a very systematic approach to tracking a woman's menstrual cycle that enables her to understand her times of fertility and infertility very, very accurately. So recent research shows that it's over 99% effective when a woman actually implements it correctly. So my role really is in supporting women to learn it and to support their process. And it provides a really amazing alternative to hormonal birth control, which, you know, when women take it, it often ends up back in the water system, and they're actually finding through research now that there's been a feminizing effect on the ecosystems because of all a hormonal birth control that ends up in the water system. So this is a really fabulous and natural alternative.
Now we're going to talk a bit more about this after the break, but we're up for a break. Now this means it's my good to know minute, where I ask my guests for the top tip on creating a successful life, and I know that each one of you, both of you, have a great one. So Kim, fire away.
For sure. I would say that my tip is to just really embrace the things that you're good at and focus on those, and to maybe spend a little less time on the things you don't enjoy. That's certainly something I've learned through the business, and I think especially for entrepreneurs out there, we have this tendency to want to try and do it all and spread ourselves really thin, but I think when you focus on the things that you enjoy and the things that you're good at, that you're bound to be successful.
My tip would be to follow your inner guidance. I feel that, you know, as women, as people, we have deep intuition that guides our life towards our passion, towards what is going to give us a successful life, and it's really just about learning to tap into that, listen to those messages, let all the doubts fall away.
Well, thank you very much. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, more of the Red Tent sisters, Amy and Kim Sedgwick, on how to be eco-sexy. So you're going to not want to miss this one. Welcome back to Extraordinary Women TV with Shannon Skinner, and I'm joined by Kim and Amy Sedgwick, who are both the known together as the Red Tent sisters. Now, how did you come up with the name Red Tent Sisters? I mean, what's the meaning behind it?
Well, there's a book that came out over 10 years ago now called The Red Tent by Nina Diamont, and Amy and I both are huge lovers of the book. Our whole families, I think our mom gave us both copies. And it's a retelling of a biblical story, but what really we tapped into was the idea of the Red Tent, which is where women used to gather when they were menstruating or giving birth to offer support and solidarity with other women. And really that was the inspiration for our stores, to create a safe space for women, particularly because I think that that kind of storytelling and that support doesn't necessarily happen as organically as it once did, and so we just hoped by creating a space that might happen.
A safe space for women. Yeah, you know, one thing that we were talking about at the break was that you know, people, and when we think about environmentalism and having an environmentally friendly environment, the last thing people think of is the bedroom, of having a green bedroom.
Yeah, it's true. People usually think about the kitchen in terms of organic food. Certainly there's more awareness around the bathroom in terms of, you know, soaps and perfumes and all that. Cosmetics, exactly.
Products,
But yeah, when they think about sexuality, I don't think it's something people think about, but certainly around lubricants is a huge issue in terms of the parabens, which is another endocrine disruptor that's usually in lubricants, usually also petroleum based, and have a sort of a host of problems with them. Same with massage oils, and then you know, condoms, people not putting them in the garbage, instead flushing them down the toilet, which ends up in our water systems. Amy was already talking about the water problems. Yeah, I think it is an area that people don't necessarily think about in the same way that they do the rest of the home. But as I said, I think there's definitely a growing awareness, and consumers are becoming more educated.
Now, in terms of your services, I know, well, you have the workshops, and you do a method that you work with women in terms of a specific abdominal method.
Yeah, so I do a couple of things in my direct clinical work with women. So I teach the fertility awareness method that I mentioned earlier as a natural form of birth control, but I also can teach it to women who are trying to conceive. So I work with a number of women who are looking to try to get pregnant and are maybe having difficulty and not wanting to go the route of fertility treatments and that type of thing. And as part of that work, I also do something called the Arvigo techniques of Maya abdominal therapy, and it's an external massage that works on the abdomen and lower pelvic area to help to improve blood flow, circulation, lymphatic drainage, all of those things to help improve reproductive health. So I work with women, you know, as I mentioned, with the contraception and fertility, but also women who are struggling with issues like fibroids and endometriosis. This is a natural way to approach that.
Now, what do you think is the biggest issue that you're seeing women facing in their sexual or reproductive health?
Yeah, I think the common thread between the work that Kim and I do, because she does sort of more of the sexuality and I do more around the reproductive, the common thread is around this issue of the sort of pharmaceutical interventions and how much those pharmaceutical solutions get pushed on women. And the problem we see with that is that it really de-emphasizes the importance of looking at why these problems are arising to begin with. And often it's because of environmental issues or problems with the food that we're eating. We might be ingesting hormones or pesticides from our food. All of these things are playing havoc on our bodies. And the problem is when you start having issues and addressing them with more hormones, it doesn't really address the underlying issues. And so we really feel strongly about the importance of addressing these health issues in a more natural way, looking at the underlying causes, helping women to lead more healthful lives, more empowered lives, looking at, you know, if they're having a sexuality issue with libido, well, could it be that it's caused by the birth control pill, which is an experience a lot of women have, or could it be that there's underlying emotional issues that need to be addressed rather than just taking a drug that might increase your libido, you know? So that's kind of the main concern that we have.
Are you, do you find that most of your customers are women, and do you have men that show up as well?
We actually have a lot of men in our store. We
do.
have a lot of men who love women, and they come in and they want to support us, they want to support their partners, they want to support their daughters, their mothers. I mean, we get lots of different people in. I mean, one of the most, we have had many, many wonderful moments in our business, but one of them was when a man came in to buy reusable menstrual products for his young daughter who was just beginning to get her first period, and he wanted to start her off on the right foot with an environmentally sound product. And we have lots of examples of times like that.
Why do you love what you do so much?
How could you not? You know, I get to work with my sister. I get to meet all these amazing people. I mean, as Amy said, the kinds of customers that we get are just amazing. You know, I sometimes get to have hour-long conversations with the people who come in, and that's really why I love our job, is just to hear those stories. And I feel like we have been successful in creating that safe space where people come in and they share with us. I mean, I've had women come in and, you know, tell us their life story and start crying and give us a hug at the end and just thank us for being there and for offering that kind of support. And I just feel so grateful that I get to do something that I love so much.
Now I know you have some advice. We've got some time for some tips, and I know that you've got a few in your back pocket.
Yeah. So our 3 top tips would be, firstly, to look at greening your contraception, so look at your options. The second would be to look at greening the bedroom. That would include both your personal lubricants, your adult toys, all of that. And the third would be to look at your feminine hygiene products as well, because that's an area that's an issue of huge waste, and also a lot of health issues can arise from that too. So those are our 3 big areas where we think that women can make personal changes that will have quite a lasting impact on themselves and the environment.
Now, one product you sell is, I've heard quite a bit about, is the Diva Cup.
Oh yeah, big fans of it. Yeah. Even before we had the store, I had basically converted all of my friends. I mean, I would talk about it in bars. I was so passionate about it. Anyone who would listen to me, I would talk about the Diva Cup. I just think it's one of those fantastic win-win-win. Like, it's better for your body, it's better for the environment, and it saves you money. Like, there really are no drawbacks. And then the other added bonus is that it really helps women become more connected to their bodies. I mean, I never really understood what my cycle was like until I started using the Diva Cup. So I think also on the level of having just more awareness of your body, that's another amazing side effect. So yeah, it's something we can't promote enough. We just think it's fantastic.
Now, in terms of, you know, greening your contraception, what happens? What about people who maybe don't have access to a store like yours in Toronto? I mean, they might be living in a rural area, they're not in a major center. What can they do if say, all they have is their local drugstore? And, you know, where can they go? What can they do?
There's some really fabulous resources. There's a book called Taking Charge of Your Fertility, which is really very popular.
I think they have it in most libraries.
Yeah, most libraries. It's very easy to get at any bookstore. And it's extremely comprehensive in teaching many of the skills that I teach in a workshop. So for a woman who learns well from reading, she could teach the method to herself, no problem, by reading a book like that. There are also some great online resources. The organization that trained me is called Justice.ca, Justisse. And they have lots of information on there as well, and you can find a local practitioner. The other thing is I do actually offer my services by Skype and by telephone, so I have had clients all over the world, from France to South Africa and various places in the US, so that's another way. And that's just for the fertility awareness. There are lots of other tools that are available to help green your contraception. We're not as familiar with it, but there is a product called
the Lady
Comp, which is more like a digitalized version of what we do. It's quite expensive, but it's a good investment. So that's an option. Some countries, not in Canada right now, but there are some countries that are moving towards some condoms that will be biodegradable when they are disposed of, and so that's a nice option as well, because we also have to point out that of course condoms at the moment are really the only way to protect against STIs, so they're still a very important tool in the bedroom, but it would be nice if there could be less waste involved.
Well, it's been just such a pleasure having the both of you here today. Now, for more information about the Red Tent Sisters and your store and your services, where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, there's a few ways. redtentsisters.com. We also just started a blog, amyandkim.com.
Great.
And then we also have an online store called ecosex.ca where you can find all the environmentally friendly sexuality and fertility products.
Well, this has been such a pleasure, so thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time is up, but I wish you all the best with the store and
Thank you so
what
much for
you're doing.
having
I mean,
us.
that's
It was
really
a pleasure.
great. So thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having us.